promoting dialogue.
Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to NewsLink. Here are the top stories. The junta in Niger agrees to dialogue with ECOWAS as it declares its intentions to prosecute ousted President Bazoum. President Umaru Sissoco Embalo inaugurates a new cabinet of 34 ministers, including 10 women. Moroccan Navy intercepts over 100 Senegalese irregular migrants drifting on its territorial waters. And the Bank of Ghana cuts with immediate effect the financing of government businesses over $5 billion loss.
In the past, we were using about 10% of previous year tax revenue, but in the wisdom of Parliament of Ghana, they decided that, okay, let us slash it by half to make it 5%.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Tawfiq Abdul Nasser with NewsLink.
Thank you for joining us. We are beginning the bulletin with a question about Niger's crisis. Is the junta's readiness to dialogue an end to the political impasse? Well, this question bears on the minds of many local and regional experts after coup leaders led by General Abdurrahman Chani agreed to meet with ECOWAS. This is the submission of a group of Nigerian clerics who arrived in Niamey over the weekend and held closed-door discussions with the mutineers. The weekend's visit, however, comes as the regional body activates its last option of military intervention to restore constitutional rule in Niamey. Abdullahi Hassan reports.
The group of clerics are the first to be welcomed by the newly appointed Prime Minister Lamin Zain, who then presented them to General Abdurrahman Chani. The meeting with Chani lasted several hours, said Sheikh Abdullahi Balalau, leader of the delegation. Recall previous attempts for talks with the junta, including by the U.S. Acting Deputy Secretary of State Victoria Nuland and ECOWAS's high-profile delegation chaired by General Abdusalami Abubakar, a former Nigerian military head of state, had all failed. Should diplomacy prevail in the Nigerian crisis, some demands will, among other things, include the release of President Mohamed Bazoum and his reinstatement. But the latter, according to Morgan Asoba, an international relations expert, will be a difficult bargain for any mediation team.
It is quite obvious that reinstating President Bazoum into powers is a very big deal. If not, it's something that is not going to happen when you look at the current dynamics and the evolution of the transition process engaged by the putschists in Niger. But this is something that could be oriented in a different way. The ECOWAS leaders could find a way to engage in how to monitor a transition and bring out some conditions that should lead the whole transition process.
Recent steps by General Chani only validate Asogba's claim. During the weekend, Niamey's defense chief, General Musa Salao Barmao, was in Conakry to meet with the Guinean interim president, Colonel Mamadou Doumbouya. The message from Salao Barmao's principal was clear: to appreciate Conakry's support thus far. Although Doumbouya was quoted as saying that they will always stand by their partners in times of crisis, Guinea, unlike Mali and Burkina Faso, is yet to openly pledge any military support in the event of ECOWAS militarized action.
Abdullahi Hassan reporting there. Now, amid a foreseeable mediation between the military-led government of General Chani in Niger and the regional bloc ECOWAS appears a surprising twist. In a televised address late Sunday, a spokesperson for the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, CNSP, Major Colonel Amadou Abdurrahmani, detailed accusations against President Mohamed Bazoum. These accusations encompasses high treason and the destabilization of both internal and external security of the country. Bazoum and his family have been held captive by the officers at his residence since the coup on July 26.
En tout état de cause, le gouvernement nigérien a réuni à ce
To date,
The Nigerian government has gathered the necessary evidence to prosecute the deposed president and his local and foreign accomplices before the competent national and international bodies for high treason and undermining internal and external security, following its exchanges with nationals, foreign heads of state and heads of international organizations. In addition, the CNSP and the transitional government point out that the deposed president is regularly visited by his doctor. The doctor's last visit was on Saturday, August 12, 2023, from 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. After this visit, the doctor raised no concerns about the state of health of the deposed president and members of his family.
Par les sanctions illégales, inhumaines et humiliantes de la CEDEAO.
Major Colonel Amadou Abdurrahmane is the spokesperson for the CNSP in Niger. Well, how will the new direction taken by the army hinder or impede peaceful dialogue? Jibril Babandache, a regional security expert, joins us in the second half of the news for the analysis. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the ECOWAS Parliament says a parliamentary committee will arrive in Niger in the coming days to further facilitate mediation. Morgan Asogba, an international relations expert, shares his perspective on the committee's role and, most importantly, achieving the target of reconciling Niamey and the regional bloc.
The parliament of the ECOWAS MPs are normally the voice of the people. And in every democratic system, the voice of the people is supposed to be highly taken into consideration when it comes to decision-making process. And in this case, the MPs have decided to come out with the initiative because definitely they do believe that the voice of the people must be heard, and that probably the strategies being adopted by the ECOWAS is not the one that the people are willing to see being displayed. So they've taken the initiative, and it is now up to the leaders, the head of state of the ECOWAS, to take that into consideration and to act in their decision-making process according to the wish or the will of the people.
That was Morgan Asogba, an international relations expert.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. NEWSLINK continues.
Here in Senegal, a diplomatic source on Sunday revealed the interception of over 100 Senegalese migrants. The Royal Moroccan Navy over the weekend, in a statement, stated it rescued some 134 Senegalese migrants when their boat was drifting in the kingdom's territorial waters. The would-be migrants rescued by the Moroccan Coast Guard included a woman and 3 sick people who were evacuated and treated at the Dakar hospital. Senegalese local APS reported that the pirogue in which the migrants were planning to travel to Spain had left from Fasboy, a locality in the Chest region. These new arrivals bring to 347 the number of Senegalese waiting to be repatriated from Dakar, according to Moroccan officials. Guinea-Bissau has a new government following the inauguration of the cabinet by President Umaru Sissoco Embalo. The appointment was confirmed by a presidential decree issued on Saturday. Strategic positions in the ministerial appointment went to the opposition coalition, which the nation's historic PAIGC party is a member. As a reminder, the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde secured the most seats at the June legislative elections. Oge Obi-Erika with more details.
The government, led by Prime Minister Geraldo Martins of the PAIGC, appointed exactly a week ago by President Embalo, has 34 members. The present cabinet has an additional 3 new portfolios compared with 31 of the previous government. 19 key portfolios, including foreign affairs, the Interior and Finance are occupied by representatives of the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, the main component of the Pi-Terra-Ranka coalition. Two of the coalition's allied parties are also represented in the new government. The gender gap was better closed in the current dispensation, with 10 women appointed compared to 4 in the previous government. Indira Cabral Embalo, daughter of PAIGC founder Amilcar Cabral, made it on the appointments list. To Madam G15, the president's political family, not represented in the new government, will remain in opposition, said Brahma Kamara, the party leader. In June, the Pi-Terra-Ranka coalition won an absolute majority of 54 seats in the National Assembly, while Madam G15 won only 29 seats. Guinea-Bissau, a politically unstable country, has also witnessed a string of coups or attempted power grabs since its independence from Portugal in 1974, with the most recent being in February 2022.
Ogiobi Erika filed that report. In Nigeria, the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, a proscribed separatist group in the southeast, has started distributing flyers and posters to inform residents about the cancellation of the sit-at-home exercise in the region. The group had before now been enforcing a sit-at-home order by its leader, Nnamdi Kanu, every Monday to press home their demand for his release. Introduced in August 2021, the order has significantly affected the region's security and economy, with many lives and livelihoods lost. WADL's Usman Umar in Abuja reports.
In a statement issued by Ima Powerful, IPOB spokesperson on Saturday, the group explained that the distribution was aimed to convey Nnamdi Kanu's pronouncement via a handwritten letter to cancel the Monday sit-at-home order. The statement also disassociated IPOB from any group claiming to represent them, including the self-proclaimed Biafra government in exile. Similarly, at a news conference, a coalition of groups from the region have declared their support for the move to discontinue the Monday sit-at-home order. Rita Anubogu, the convener and a personal aide to Nnamdi Kanu, validates the handwritten letter by the leader of IPOB, which has now declared Mondays as Economic Empowerment Day in the Southeast region as authentic.
The letter that Barrister Jimako presented to the press is very authentic and is from Nnamdi Kanu. Anyone claiming otherwise is doing so for ulterior motive, which time and Chukwuokike Abiama will expose.
She then went on to say every well-meaning citizen is in support of the cancellation, as according to her, the ultimate goal of IPOB can only be realized through dialogue and not violence.
As we say, we collectively reject the sit-at-home. Let it end now. No one becomes a hero in Igbo land by killing his own brother. Nnamdi had realized that we have to work with the political leaders of Igbo land to make a successful case for Biafra. Simon Ekpa should cease and listen to voices of reason.
A report by International Center for Investigative Reporting suggests that the annual revenue that could have been made by micro businesses on 52 lost Mondays is estimated at 4.618 trillion naira or $10.495 billion, which also represents the amount lost by the region in 1 year for sitting at home every Monday. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
You are listening to NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar. Here is a reminder of our top stories. The junta in Niger agrees to dialogue with ECOWAS as it declares its intentions to prosecute ousted President Bazoum. President Umaru Sissoco Embalo inaugurates a new cabinet of 34 ministers, including 10 women. Moroccan Navy intercepts over 100 Senegalese irregular migrants drifting on its territorial waters. Also coming up, the Bank of Ghana cuts with immediate effect the financing of government businesses over $5 billion loss. Still ahead is the press review, guest interview, and sports update. Stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Now, economists in Ghana have started to kick against a decision by Ghana's central bank to enforce a zero financing policy, where the central bank will no longer lend money to the government to finance its operations. This is coming after the Bank of Ghana posted over $5 billion in losses in 2022, primarily through funding the government's expenditures and not getting paid. The central bank and the Ministry of Finance have already signed a memorandum of understanding to ensure the decision is carried through. From Accra, Atiwin Imbilalosin reports.
Since 2015, the International Monetary Fund has been calling on the Bank of Ghana to stop financing the central government's budget and activities, saying that weakens the bank's financial position. On the back of its recent unprecedented losses totaling over $5 billion due to help extended to the government in the domestic debt exchange program, the central bank has decided to heed to the IMF's call. The Apex Bank is thus suspending financial support for government businesses. Reacting to this news, economist Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie said the Bank of Ghana did nothing wrong to support the government financially in 2022, and that left too much of an avoidable mess.
The central bank is a bank of government, and so they did right by supporting their customer, which is the government, by bailing them out. So they did the right thing. Honestly, I think the Bank of Ghana did the right thing, except that the mess was so huge, was so big that after helping their customer, who is the government, they also ended up with a loss.
On his part, Professor John Gachi, also an economist, believes the directive by the central bank is impossible, especially in the context of a low middle income and developing country. Gachi further indicated that the support must be streamlined.
In the past, we were using about 10% of previous year tax revenue, but in the wisdom of Parliament of Ghana, they decided that, okay, let us slash it by half to make it 5%. So I do not think that we have to go to zero financing of government activities by the central bank. But the issue has to do with whether we show fidelity to our own laws. We have been violating the provisions, and that is why the problem is.
Reporting for NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Atiewin Imbila Lawson in Accra.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Here is Usman Umar in Abuja with the major headlines from the Nigerian dailies.
So today we have a couple of dailies to look at. And as you would expect, a lot of the papers today are leading with the update on the situation in Niger Republic. Recall that over the weekend actually, some clerics, prominent Islamic clerics from Nigeria were in Niamey, where they were able to meet with the coup leaders, where discussions were held and there seems to be some hope. So a lot of newspapers are, leading with that. Say, for example, the Vanguard newspaper is leading with this banner headline: "Coup, we struck to avert threat against Niger." This is coming from General Chiani, who is the leader of the group that toppled Mohamed Bazoum of Niger Republic. Riders to the story says, "Coup, well intended." Another writer says, explains why they didn't see Tinubu's delegation led by General Abdulsalami Abubakar. Another writer says, OK's dialogues as he meets Nigerian Islamic clerics. Also, Tribune is leading with this headline: Arewa Forum laments 13 billion naira weekly loss to border closure. This is also some of the outcomes or the impact of the ongoing sanctions of border closure imposed on Niger Republic. The writer to the story says more than 2,000 trucks of perishable goods trapped at borders. The Sun newspaper is also leading with the story from Niger Republic saying coup leaders open up Ryder fault ECOWAS for not having patience to hear their side of the story before issuing ultimatums. Next Ryder expresses readiness for peace talks. Dialogue, diplomacy should be the priority. This is coming from Obi, as we have earlier pointed out. The last paper we're going to be looking at is the Daily Trust newspaper, that is also leading with this screaming headline. ECOWAS, Niger's junta begin talks soon. With Ryder, military rulers accept dialogue. Ulamas to brief Tinubu today. Then another Ryder, we sacked Bazoum to save Nigeria. This is according to the Coupist. Another Ryder says diversion of diaspora remittances contributing to Naira crash. This is according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the last Ryder saying farmers flee as bandits invade Niger villages. And of course, the security operatives in the state say they are on top of the situation. We only hope that sanity and security and peace and development is restored to that part of the country as soon as possible. And with this, we call it a day on the press review segment today with me, Osman Umar, from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. It's back to you in the studios.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Niger's military junta has declared its intention to prosecute deposed President Mohamed Bazoum for treason, hours after a group of senior Islamic scholars said the country's school leaders are open to dialogue with the regional body ECOWAS to resolve their standoff. In a statement read out on national television late Sunday, a spokesman for Niger's military, Colonel Major Amadou Abdurrahmani, laid out the charges against Bazoum as high treason and undermining the internal and external security of the country. In this interview, our guest, Jibril Babandache, will analyze what key stakes should be at play by the regional body for serenity and smooth discussion now that the junta has opened its arms. Another issue of concern is whether the junta will be willing to hand over power to Mohamed Bazoum's government now that it started its appointment, of which key among them is the Prime Minister.
It is not just the issue of the standby force that led to that agreement, but there has been a lot of work that has been done from the back channel through the dialogue. A lot of very highly placed individuals from Nigeria. Because I want to bring to your attention and indeed to many other people who will be listening that Niger is almost like an extension of Nigeria. It's like indeed like almost like a state in Nigeria. So there are a lot of that back channel discussion on how to go into dialogue, appealing to the junta. But this step taking also show that the ECOWAS is also standing on its feet to ensure that, look, if you also don't do to have the capacity to also go ahead and activate our own standby force to come into Niger. So yes, I would say that on the one hand, it could be what was responsible for it. But on the other hand, I think it was also a lot of work going the dialogue channel, using the diplomatic channel that actually push for this. You recall just I think 2 or 3 days ago, some ulamas from Nigeria went to Niger. Before then, former Emir, 14th Emir of Kano, Emir Sanusi, was also met with them. So it's a lot of work that has been done, and I'm sure that there are also some other well-meaning Nigerians and Africans who are also using other channels to reach out to the junta to ensure that they go the road of dialogue, so that they can at least come to an agreement on the political impasse in the country.
So do you think this dialogue will be successful, as the military junta has declared intentions of even prosecuting the ousted President Bazoum? Could it also suggest an intention to establish a transitional timetable allowing for a gradual return to constitutional governance?
Yeah, if you look at what has been achieved so far, we will just say that the dialogue has is already yielding result. You can see, even from where you are sitting in Dakar, even though it's far, compared to when the coup happened and the back and forth, you can see that the tension has reduced now. There's no tension. You need to be in Nigeria within this period when those ECOWAS settlement was given, and you need to talk to people who are on the border country. You see that governors from this state met with the president, former president Abdesalami Abubakar and Sultan of Sokoto, met with the president, and the president dispatched them, gave them assignment to go to Nigeria and all of that, and then several other people, ensuring that the best option of it is dialogue. And there have been a lot of comment by particularly experts, military experts, defense and security experts, that the best option is dialogue, not even for the junta, and they going the route of war will not do any other Niger or Nigeria or entire coast of West African sub-regions on both sides. So war is not an option at all.
Jibril Babandache is a regional security expert. And in sports, trailing to Chile, Namibia finally prevailed 2-26 on Saturday in Valparaiso in a match to prepare for the Rugby World Cup in France on September 8 to October 28. The Namibians, who conceded 3 tries in the first half, trailed by 12 points at the break 19-7, but turned the match around by scoring 3 tries of their own late on. Namibia, the second African nation, along with South Africa, reigning world champions to compete at the World Cup, are in Pool A alongside New Zealand, host France, Italy and Uruguay. Chile, meanwhile, will be taking part in a Rugby World Cup for the first time. It is in a Pool D alongside Argentina, Japan, Samoa and England. And that's it for sports. We have come to the end of this edition of NewsLink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to our listeners in the Gambia via Hot 104.3 FM and Numi FM 94.0 Banjul, in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lofa County. We also thank our listeners in Ghana on Radio Pod 95.1 Savannah region and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi. Inyas Bilimu has been on the console, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek for the live stream. Do interact with us via social media platforms: X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Tawfiq Abdul Nasir. Good afternoon.
News, talk, music. Get it all 24 hours on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.
This is the Sunny Side Ride.
This is the Sunny Side Ride.
Super shows. Stay ahead with the news and great music that will keep you going.